Hey guys, it's Rich with your Monday spot on the Pagan Perspective, and this week we're talking about sharing or not sharing. This week's topic comes from Taria, who writes, I've noticed an idea floating around, specifically in magic record-keeping books like grimoires, where it is implied or outright said that things shouldn't be shared, the implication being that sharing something from your specific practice could take away from it. Would love to hear your differing thoughts on this. Okay, so whenever it comes to me in my practice, I understand not sharing certain things because they are very personal and it is part of your personal beliefs or personal practice. And that's something that you don't necessarily want to put out there for other people. There is a reason it is called a personal practice. So I understand that there are some things that should not be shared. It's a thing that should be kept secret or kept safe from other people, either to use against you, either magically or in a mundane sense, where they can actually expose you to the public saying, hey, this is what they believe and this is what type of stuff that they practice. I understand that. My thing is, I have no issues with people if I share it over the interwebs. If I share something about my practice, such as a personal cosmology or my personal beliefs on like the cardinal directions or anything like that, I have no issues with sharing those ideas and thoughts and beliefs. But whenever it comes to spell work, I'm a little bit more guarded. And the reason that I'm a little bit more guarded on that is because I have adapted either other people's spell work, where I can't necessarily give them the credit for what they've come up with because I just can't remember where I got the information from. But I am notorious, at least in my practice, I'm notorious for doing this. I will take somebody else's spell work that they have created or that they've gotten from somewhere else that they can't remember who came up with it. I will take that and I will adapt it to my own system or my own way of utilizing it and molding it into my practice and the way that I believe. So I will often change names. I will change genders depending on what it is. I will change the outcome. If I like the poeticness of a wording of a spell, I will change that and adapt it to whatever the spell work is that I want to do. If it's, say, I take a love spell off the internet because I absolutely love the wording of it. However, I want to use it for a prosperity spell. I will take that and I will adapt it and kind of plug and chug in some different words or something like that in there so it actually works with what I want to do. So I am notorious for changing other people's spell work to fit my needs. Now, whenever I do that, I make it my own. I change it and adapt it and I make it my own. I put my own stamp of approval on there, and that then becomes personal to me. So yeah, I find like almost like an ownership or a kinship where, this is my baby that I created. I don't necessarily want to give up all of the secrets of it. It is personal to me, and unless I give you explicit permission to look into my Book of Shadows at this particular spell or working, I don't really want to go out of my way to share it. Now, I have said in the past, and I still will say, that if you are, say, in my witchy room or in my house and you see my Book of Shadows there, and as long as if you don't have any ill intent by looking at it, even if you're accidentally looking at it, if you pick it up and just start thumbing through thinking it's a regular book, if you start doing that, it really won't bother me that much, as long as if you're respectful to that item. So if you're in my personal space and you happen to see it, I'm not really going to freak out, but I will say to you, okay, this is what this is for, this is why this is the way it is. And I think it might even come down to more of that with why I don't really share spell work. Because unless you know the intricate workings of each individual part of a spell and why I added this ingredient versus this ingredient, I think unless you know those intricacies or know why the certain wording is put in there the way it is and why I didn't adapt something else, unless you know that and you are on the same page as me with it, or unless you adapt it to your own, which, copy and paste spell work can work, but it's a lot better whenever it's more personal. So whenever somebody goes to my Book of Shadows, they open up, they see this prosperity spell that was once a money spell that's been reworded and all that. Unless you know why I'm putting in Dragon's Blood, that might not be the best thing for you. Because unless you know why you're putting in Dragon's Blood, it might not work as well for you. But once I explain to you why I put in this certain ingredient and why I have the wording the way it is and why it looks like it was once a love spell, then you might not really understand it. And I think that's what it really comes down to, is understanding what you're reading and why things are done in a certain way, at least in my practice or the way that I practice. So I think that's something to note whenever you're looking at somebody else's spell work, if they choose to share it, if they are open about sharing that, is to understand why they use certain things or why they chose a wording that they chose. Is it because they like a rhyme? Is it because they like writing in haiku? Is it because they just thought the wording was beautifully done? Is there a meaning behind it? Maybe a loved one has said something like that to them, or is it just something that came to them one night in a dream and that's something that they have to put into that spell work? So these are important things to know, and to not just copy and paste, which I myself am notorious also for doing, is to copy and paste usually generalized information. But I've gotten more away from that and more into gathering information and then sussing out what it is that I believe from that information. For instance, if you go onto crystalpaganism.com, which is my blog that's kind of lacking right now, if you go on there and you go and you look at the Crystal Pagan series that I did on my personal channel, if you look at that and you see the Elements series that I did, a lot of that information was taken from different areas. So that information was taken from different areas, and then I broke it down into why this was thought to be this way or why it was thought to be that way, and why the associations with certain elements are the way they are. So I've taken that and I've broken it all down, and then I put it back together in a way that makes sense to me, that I can explain to other people so they know where I'm coming from. So information like that, yes, I do take it, I copy and paste, but then I adapt it to myself. So I'm getting more into the adapting for myself rather than the copying and pasting. But in my early practice, I was all about copying everything and pasting everything to everything, and just having all of it. And now it's like, okay, let's weed out the stuff that I don't need, and let's focus on the stuff that really matters for my practice. And that would be another reason why I don't share a lot of my personal spell work, is because I don't want somebody having to copy and paste something because they think that's what's supposed to be done. It works in your early practice to copy all the information down of, correspondences and the Sabbats and why they're celebrated the way they are and all that. It's okay to copy that stuff down, but whenever it comes to spell work, I like to see people work a little bit more for it, because I wish I was um, pushed to work a little bit harder for it for my own personal practice. So seeing what I was lacking back then, I kind of want to help the next generation, I guess, of witches coming up, to help curb that, to, hey, instead of taking this, let's break this down and you can figure out what makes sense to you and why you're doing certain things. So, getting back to that why behind what we do, that Annie loves to say so much and that I love to parrot so much, another copy and paste, if you will. So, I think that's where I'm going to leave this video. I hope this has made sense. I'm going to try to edit this down so it makes some sort of sense. And for any of you out there who are putting Coda in your Reiki work and whatnot, Coda's my dog. He is still on the decline. I think it's going to be soon that he actually departs from this world. So, but I do thank you guys. Let's if you are doing workings for him, then let's try to do workings to have him have as peaceful of a passing as possible. So, but I thank you guys for that, and I thank you for all the well wishes and whatnot. I was on Mama Squirrel's channel the other night, and there were several people there that were just saying, I will send Reiki. I will, put them in with my prayers or blessings and whatnot. So I want to thank anybody that's watching this that is also doing that. I want to thank you guys for doing that. It does mean a lot to me. So with that, I am going to say goodbye. May you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye.